Hello learners, welcome back to the course on learning and development in organization. We move to the last lecture of the module 1. We'll be looking into what are the different emerging developments within the vertical of learning and development in organization. I am Dr. Abraham Cyril Issac. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Now, when you look into learning and development, we have understood over the course of this particular module itself, we have tried to define, we have tried to categorically understand what learning and development is. In the previous session, if you've gone through that, we have discussed about what are the different theories that actually give way to learning and development, different perspectives. We've also touched upon the different barriers at the individual level and also at the organizational level. Today, we'll look into the emerging developments, and the theme would be the illiterate of the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn and relearn. So this will be the underlying theme across this particular session. Let's understand the evolving landscape of learning and development. So the field of learning and development specifically is undergoing a significant change, a significant transformation driven by advancements in all the fields. If you ask me, psychology, neuroscience, technology, shifting workplace dynamics, post-COVID, it has changed drastically. The newer contracts are emerging. So let's look into that in greater detail. When you talk about the evolving landscape specifically, this evolution is marked by the focus on adaptability, personalized learning, and the integration of cutting-edge digital tools. So these three aspects are fundamentally important in catering to the needs of learning and development in the present day scenario. One is typically adaptability. How with the changes, the learning dynamics are changing, and specifically the learning has been transforming into a more personalized version, what is known as a tailor-made learning for each and every individual. And finally, all of this is getting augmented with the help of some wonderful, fascinating digital tools. So let's look into the neuroscience and learning mindsets quickly. Recent breakthroughs in neuroscience have deepened our understanding of how people learn, particularly through the concept of brain plasticity. When you're looking into research, it shows that the brain continuously adapts to new experiences, reinforcing the idea that learning is dynamic. It is a lifelong process. It is not like a singular episode. It's not like it happened and now it's not going to happen. No, it's more of a dynamic and lifelong process. Now, when you look into Carol Dweck's 2006 work on growth mindsets, it further emphasizes that individuals who view intelligence and skills as malleable are more likely to embrace challenges, persist through setbacks, and achieve greater learning outcomes. So the insight is reshaping L&D strategies typically with a focus on creating environments that foster resilience, curiosity, and continuous growth altogether. Now let's look into personalized and adaptive learning. Personalized and adaptive learning is when organizations are moving away from one-size-fits-all training to a more of personalized learning intervention. That is AI-driven personalization, AI-driven personalized learning interventions, if you ask me. AI-driven learning and adaptive learning platforms, we have very deeply detailed in the course AI in HRM in the NPTEL platform. But here I would like to give peripheral understanding of AI, which analyzes performance data to recommend courses and resources. So AI algorithms, they analyze employee performance data to recommend courses, resources, and learning paths, while adaptive platforms adjust content and pace based on the progress. So this targeted approach, if you ask me, enhances engagement and ensures a relevance, maximizing the impact of learning and development investments or the organization's investment towards the learning and development interventions and initiatives. Now let's understand micro-learning and JIT, just-in-time training. These are also emerging aspects whereby quick learning happens. Microlearning, which delivers content in small, manageable chunks, has gained popularity for its effectiveness in catering to busy people. So many a time we see that, if in today's world this is all the more relevant, because you understand that initially we used to read books, then things changed. We go through different videos or study materials, what you are actually doing right now. Things have also progressed now. We go through reels. So as short as possible, maybe 15 seconds, 30 seconds, you want all the content to be put in there. That is micro learning for you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You understand this in a different perspective. People are getting busier. They do not have the necessary time to undertake the rigorous learning methods or methodologies that were existing maybe in the previous decade. But things are changing. Micro learning just in time. You want to understand only this part of the particular book. If it's available as a snippet, if it's available as a passage, if it's available as a video, if it's available as a reel, well and good. Why not go to that particular video content, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, done with it. That's what people are more interested in. So just-in-time learning supports employees when they face specific challenges, offering practical solutions and reinforce the existing knowledge and application. So let's say you are, part of a workshop, a team where you are running something. So you are running a machinery, you do not know, it's a new make, some nuances you are not aware of. You can just search the YouTube videos, you may get one, or some technical videos which will refer to some catalogs, which will help you, which will aid you to get to the solution to the problem you are facing. So this micro learning, this is the process right now what people are behind. Now, there's also an emerging aspect or emerging field of gamification in learning. It is all about using gamified elements in learning. You must have seen or observed, when you go to your shopping or your, purchase processes, etc., you get badges, some points. The stores want to keep you as loyal as possible, so loyalty points, something like that. All these are actually gamified elements. So those things, the moment you bring badges, the moment you bring, medals, honors, etc., within the learning scope, then you are putting in more of a gamification or gamified atmosphere in the learning process. So let's understand this also. Gamification is enhancing the engagement by integrating elements like points, like badges, leaderboards, role playing into learning programs specifically. So interactive simulations and challenges, if you ask me, provide a safe, controlled environment for employees to practice skills and reinforce learning. So social learning fosters collaboration through mentorship programs, through peer reviews and discussion forums, leveraging shared knowledge and experiences specifically. Then we go to the digital and blended learning approach. We have used individual silo-based learning approaches till now. We have seen that digital learning, the rise of digital learning, if you ask me, has transformed professional development through e-learning platforms, AI-driven recommendations and virtual reality simulations. However, organizations recognize the limitations of purely digital learning and are adopting blended learning approaches. So integrating online modules with face-to-face interactions, mentorship, and experiential learning. So if you ask me, this hybrid approach allows for deeper engagement and better retention of knowledge. So this is the beauty of digital and blended learning approach. Now let's look into VR, virtual and augmented reality, AR. So VR and AR technologies are creating immensely learning experiences, particularly for technical and hands-on training. So if you look into the tools that allow employees to engage in realistic simulations, providing practical experiences without real-world risk. Many a time what happens, it's not only the real-world risk that is part of the AR VR technology, or that is the benefit of AR VR technology. It's a cost also. You look into a specific training that is involving huge amount of expenditure, something like a flight simulator or something like that, or some training process, maybe some space training, how you survive in space or something like that. It's all basically highly expensive. So it's difficult every time to actually recreate or make a experimental setup which will give you, which will train you, which will initiate the required learning for the project. That is where this VR, virtual and augmented reality training, becomes very much critical. Additionally, remote training facilitated by VR, AR ensures accessible and scalable learning solutions for distributed teams. So this is yet again another impactful reasoning for why we have to go for VR, virtual reality or augmented reality based training. Virtual and augmented reality based learning. Now let's look into learning based or learning experience platforms, which we call as LXPs, and data driven L&D. So LXPs or learning experience platforms typically are replacing traditional LMS, learning management systems, by offering a user-friendly, if I can say, Netflix-like learning experience. They provide curated content, personalized recommendations, and social learning features, integrating seamlessly with workplace tools like Slack and Microsoft Teams. So moreover, organizations are leveraging learning analytics and predictive analytics to measure program effectiveness, identify the skill gaps, and anticipate the future training needs. Then we look into how we can develop the soft skills and emotional intelligence particular to the learning process altogether. So as automation and AI, artificial intelligence, take over the mundane or the routine task, there is a growing emphasis on developing the soft skills. You talk about emotional intelligence, EI, you talk about the communication, you talk about leadership, you talk about resilience, you talk about adaptability. All these soft skills, they do have a significant impact or significant measure when it comes to learning. When you are looking into training programs that are evolving to build these competencies, helping employees navigate change and uncertainty effectively. So that is the relevance, that is the importance of developing soft skills and emotional intelligence altogether. Now let's look into the continuous learning culture and the DEI initiatives. Diversity, equity, and inclusiveness initiatives. Just for your information, now we also add B. So we have D, diversity, equity, inclusivity, inclusion. We also have B, belongingness. So when you're looking into continuous learning culture and DEI initiatives, organizations are fostering a culture of lifelong learning, encouraging employees to consistently update their skills and knowledge. So learning in the flow of work, embedding learning opportunities into daily activities ensures practical applications without disrupting the productivity. Additionally, if you ask me, DEI training, the diversity, equity, and inclusion training is becoming more sophisticated, focusing on unconscious bias, focusing on the cultural competency that individual carries, and even the inclusive leadership to create more equitable workplaces. Then we look into the agile learning and the cross-functional training. Agile learning methodologies are inspired by the Agile project management technique, which promotes iterative, which promotes flexible approaches to L&D. So organizations are adopting cross-functional training where employees collaborate across departments to break down the silos and encourage the knowledge sharing altogether. So this adaptability ensures L&D, learning and development, to remain responsive to evolving business needs. Now let's focus on sustainability and CSR, corporate social responsibility training. So if you see, we are touching on every single aspect of learning nowadays that is relevant with respect to industry. With respect to sustainability, becoming a business priority, organizations undoubtedly are incorporating environmental awareness and CSR training into their L&D programs. So employees are being educated on sustainable practices and ethical business strategies, reinforcing corporate responsibility efforts. And then you have the focus on employee well-being. This has been one of the finest research points that have emerged in the last decade, specifically. Specific to mental health training, you have programs on stress management, you have programs on mindfulness, you have programs on work-life balance becoming an integral part of L&D. So as I mentioned, the employee well-being has been one of the most determining factor in the previous decade in terms of the behavioral, organizational behavior research specifically. Holistic development, organizations are supporting employees' overall well-being, not just physical fitness or physical well-being. It also looks into emotional and social health also. So let's conclude our understanding by looking into the future of learning and development. Please note, we have tried to understand the different aspects of learning and development that are relevant today with respect to industry. Not only with respect to academia, but also with respect to industry, we see that there is a lot of new technologies and the adaptability becoming a key factor in all these aspects. So wherever you see a resistance to change, there is a possibility that learning is being curtailed. Wherever there is a possibility or probability of resistance to change, learning and development, ladies and gentlemen, will not happen. So please make a note of it. From an organizational perspective, you have different ways, you have different means, you have different technologies, you have different ways of enhancing and augmenting the learning process. And if the organizations are not able to take that or not able to catch the bus, if you have looked into my introductory video, this is where learning and development is going to suffer in your organization specifically. What makes you different from your co-worker? What makes you different from the people sitting with you in the organization is how different you are, how different you stand out of the crowd. This is only possible by individual and organizational learning. Mark my words, try to look into that and try to enhance your learning process every now and then. Thank you for listening to me patiently. We will come out with a different module in the next class. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.